Hello everyone, this is the Voyager 1 here. I want to make this video kind of getting a little bit personal, but also trying to address something that I feel like I've been missing on my channel. If you look on my channel and you look at the bio underneath my channel, it says something about photography, right? I kind of want to address that part today. I want to address the photography portion of my channel, and this is honestly the first time I'm addressing photography in a way, and I haven't done any videos regarding photography. I want to explain that perfectly why. I want to go into details of how I feel about photography nowadays and why I think it's a huge issue, especially for people who are coming into photography, who are intermediate, and those who have been into it, like made a career of it for the longest before I've even got a chance to get a camera like this. Before I get into it, be sure to like and subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a comment before you head out the door. I want to explain something, is that the moment you get your hand on a camera, you are a filmmaker or photographer, and that may be some gray area in that, because we have phone photography now, which is definitely taking over things. I think is mostly to blame, not blame, maybe I shouldn't use that word, maybe partial, let's say, effect on how photography is today, because anyone can take out their phone, anyone can take a snapshot and call it photography. And I know AI has this thing, but it's still wonky, still somewhat unusable, I would say. Sometimes you may get something good in terms of an edit, and other times you would not. But I don't think that it's hindering the creative process all that much. Now, when you're talking about software, then yes, absolutely. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So what about me personally? How do I feel about photography at the moment? Sad to say, it is unrecognizable. It's an unrecognizable art for me. Because I feel like I definitely wanted to be like the Peter McKinnons, the Maddie, those guys doing videography, professional work, and photography, like portraits, and then you have the Thomas Heatons that do landscape photography. They have all these videos, and they're selling the dream, essentially. They're selling the dream. So I was hugely inspired by that. I remember 2017, I remember 2014, I subscribed to Peter McKinnon, and I watched almost every single video that he uploaded from 2015 all the way up to almost today. There's a point in which I stopped watching him because I felt that I would not be able to reach his level at all. And to be honest with you, most people will not. Most people will not. The thing about photography and YouTube is that it's very easy for you to get caught up in the dream, but not the reality. The reality is, I cannot afford a $5,000, $6,000 camera. I can't afford to travel to these exotic locations and whatnot. I can't really afford to do those sorts of things, And I somewhat have limited freedom. I don't have a car, I don't have a license, don't have a driver's license. So how am I going to get to point A to point B in a reasonable amount of time, Those sorts of things. I have to really think realistically. Also, too, life will get in the way, which will make it impossible for me to do anything of the sort, like travel and whatnot, because the cost of traveling hugely inflated. and then cost of equipment and all that stuff. And most jobs, it's hard for me to get the certain jobs that I want, like the photography jobs that do those things, that offer those things, because there's not much promotions being offered at those jobs. I worked at one good, albeit photography job. I was very happy with it, but the pay wasn't good. It was portraits, tourist portrait stuff, and there was no chance for promotion of the sort. So you can call that a dead-end job. I want to make this video as kind of like a warning to upcoming YouTubers and whatnot, because the game has changed in terms of 2026 YouTube. 2026 YouTube will be about authenticity, about being honest. A long form content of the sort, we are starting to notice the negative effects of short form content. Okay? I want to ask these guys something. Comment down below. Do you guys remember anything when you're scrolling through the YouTube shorts? Do you remember the last video you saw in your YouTube shorts without looking at your library or history? That's what I'm talking about. The attention span has dropped. And if all this craze about AI and all this craze about software, editing software, most of this stuff is unusable now. And they have no lifetime license. I have no problem paying full price or somewhat of a sale for a lifetime subscription. That's gone. That's gone. No longer you can do that with Adobe. No longer do they have that with even Mac. They just rolled out their $13 a month subscription with their Final Cut Pro and their editing software and all these other stuff that I'm not trying to learn. I don't want to learn. Why do I need this? Why do I need any of this, right? There's no lifetime subscription for that. So keep in mind that it's just a matter of them taking as much money out of you as much as they possibly can. Yes, and wholeheartedly, they don't care. They don't care. They're going to put in more AI stuff because the name of the game is trying to justify these things about as much as possible, even at the inconvenience of their users, of their consumer base. That's the name of the game, right? So you're being inconvenienced, you're being annoyed while these enterprises are banking off of AI. And just like I said in the previous video, these AI facilities are unfinished. I didn't mean to get into all of this, but they're unfinished, they're behind schedule, and they're not promised as they were promised to be. So that's a major problem. But anyway, back to photography. We're no longer able to have the next Peter McKinnon because that's been taken over with, and that's been exploited about as much as it could. Probably not the next Thomas Heaton, right? Who has disposable income anymore? Who has disposable income to afford such luxuries, you know? They said that the mirrorless lineup will have more features and it will be more affordable. It's not. Now there's worldly economic situations that we have to take into account. You know, the world has gotten pricier, more expensive, and far more frustrating than it was in 2017. Me saying 2017, 20 is like worlds away compared to what we have to deal with now. Worlds away. And it's kind of depressing at the moment. However, I hope the guys are like Jared Poland. I hope they're doing fine. I hope they're doing okay. As long as they stay up on where they are. I hope that they're able to maintain themselves year in and year out. Rather they see the growth or not. I don't want to wish any harm or ill towards these large YouTubers. But here's one thing that I have noticed. I have noticed that their viewer base has fallen off a cliff. How do you have 6 million subscribers in the hour after you post your video that you haven't made in like 3 months? You haven't posted anything in 3 months, but you first post that video after 3 months and you only get like 10,000 views an hour after, and then barely 100,000 views days after, but you have 6 million subscribers. What's going on with that? It's the algorithm. The algorithm forgotten about them, and it's moved on to other people, smaller people like me. Now, this may be the most disorganized the most disorganized video. This is how I think sometimes. This is how I think of topics and whatnot. The algorithm forget them, and then it goes on to something else. There's always has to be something feeding the algorithm. If your channel is not feeding the algorithm, right, then it'll move on to someone else like me, right? I'm under 100 subscribers. However, I'm getting very, very close to 100 subscribers. If you haven't done so, please please subscribe to the channel if you like the content that I do here. Only if you like the content I do here. I don't want to pressure anyone. But it'll push someone like me more than it'll push other people like who's been in the game for a long time. And that's hard to see, especially for I'm a long time subscriber to Peter McKinnon. I love his content. It's really good. However, it's like we're no longer rewarding the dream. We're no longer rewarding the selling of the dream. Now it's just try to be about as authentic as you can. Scramble up my words, sorry. About as being as authentic as you can. Basically, being real, being honest, long form content. That's what it's about, right? So they're out of the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't know them anymore. They have to rebuild that rapport, their credibility, while they travel the world, while they have these deals. That's the irony in all of this. They started out with photography. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they can do, right? But what I'm going to do is just continue vlogging, try to do some photography, even if it's very little, very rare when you see it. I'm going to do my best. That's the best thing I can do, the best thing I can say for the moment. I don't know what the future will behold. I just hope one day I'll get my own apartment. And if I get to travel the world, that'll be fun. If not, who cares? Who cares? I'm getting tired of comparing myself with other people who are on their chapter 20 or chapter 30, and I'm on my chapter 1 of life. So there's that. Anyway, if you liked the video, leave a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. I'll see you guys later.